That's
But
the way it works. Anytime you're trying to do something, that's the way it that's the way it works. How's business in your area?
so it has been kind of slow, very slow,
Okay.
um, but seems to be picking up. It's like I've got the way I do my marketing, I am not real fond of outbound phone calls. And so, and over the last, few years, I got really spoiled as far as just picking up the phone when it rings. And so anyway, I've been trying to get better about calling out, but also my phone has been ringing in more recently. In fact, I
Love
have a
that.
listing appointment today, so
Good for you. Good for you. I'd love to ask, just explore just a second. And again, if you're invited to become a panelist, please accept that and let us see your smiling faces, as April says. But what is it, Michelle, that causes some hesitancy in you making outbound phone calls? And let's just assume we're talking about anything where you have to reach out to the prospect or the potential consumer first. What is it that causes you problems when it comes to that?
just, probably more mindset issues than anything else, because when I do it, it's fine. But it's always, well, I don't have time, or I don't want to be a nuisance, or, I don't want to be one of those realtors, so I realize that those are all things that I just need to get over.
But sometimes it's not very easy to do that. And I think what we're going to talk about, by the way, I think all of us can relate on some level. Now, there are some people who are amazing prospectors. They have no worry, no real connection with the people they're prospecting with. And so they don't really care if they upset someone. And I'm not saying that's the healthy way to do it, but there's some people just boom, boom, boom. They do what they need to. But
Mhm.
I want you to think about this for just for a second. What if you changed what you were looking for when you prospected? Do you think if you had a different motivation for making those calls, something other than let me find somebody who can buy or sell a house using me, do you think it might be easier to prospect?
Yeah, for sure. Like if I have a reason to call, like there's an open house coming up and I just wanted you to know about it, or something like that.
Or
Those,
what if you don't know the reason, and when you call them, you're looking for them to tell you the reason for the call? Now, I know that seems crazy.
yeah.
That is what
Depending on
we're.
who it is, though, they're like, "Why are you calling me?"
Yeah, oh, totally, totally, totally. So people have to be willing to talk to you in the first place. That is absolutely right. But this is all about understanding what causes concern, what causes worry, what causes hesitation, what causes people to become stuck. And so this whole session today is about how to celebrate finding someone who wants to buy or sell but does not see any clear path for moving forward. I got to get my kids in a better school district. There's just no way I can do it. Interest rates are too high. What if that's what you rung your bell on? Ding, ding, winner, winner. If you found someone who is refusing to move forward for a particular reason, what if that's how you won?
Yeah, I mean that would be a win because that's step one of starting the conversation and helping them walk down that path.
Absolutely. Tammy, if most people are making phone calls to or making prospecting phone calls, what is it that they're looking for?
Most people making prospecting calls are looking for an appointment,
Yeah,
right?
they're looking for someone to admit they need to buy or sell, and for someone to see a clear pathway for doing that.
Mhm.
Now, how on earth, Jill, can there be enough people who want to buy, want to sell, and see a clear path for moving forward for agents to be able to move enough people forward to make money?
There's not.
It doesn't work at all. So let me just share a couple things with you here. I've got a little presentation. Those of you who attend any sessions with me, you know I'm not the biggest on actually using a specific presentation. But this is all about getting buyers and sellers off the sideline and into the game using threat elimination systems. Some of you know a little bit about this, but hopefully will want to learn a little bit more. Some of you never even heard of what a threat elimination system is. I want to remind you, everything I show you on today's session Everything I show you will be available at the end. You'll get all of these free tools and resources, and you're going to get 2 tools and resources that nobody on a webinar has ever gotten before. And it's because I need to help you understand a couple of concepts. So if you're a coaching client, you might have seen it, but I doubt it. But for all of you, whether you're a coaching client or not, you want to go get that. So I want to have a quick discussion. What is the difference between a participant and a spectator? What's the difference?
The participant is in the game.
The participant is in the game. And I'm talking about a participant versus a spectator, not from the standpoint of the consumer, the buyer or the seller. I'm talking about how do we turn you from a spectator to a participant in the lives of the people you want to serve. Tammy, I know you and I talk about this quite often. Any thoughts you want to share there? Michelle's like, Cleve is losing me. None of this stuff makes any sense. I hope he can tie it all together.
Oh, and it makes perfect sense. I just not sure I want to hear it right now.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm not sure I want to hear that in order to move people forward often enough and quickly enough, I have to change the way I think about prospecting. But when there are threats everywhere in the world, that everybody knows about it, including you. So Tammy, what's the difference in a participant and a spectator?
So in the context of a game, the participant meaning the game player, the agent, the realtor, right? Some realtors are spectators. Now, if we think about our offices, there's some realtors who watch everybody else work and then talk about the mistakes that everybody else is making. And they point and they talk about the plays after the plays are done, right? Like spectators at a game, they sit in the stands and they go, oh, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done this, but they're not on the field. And for me, the biggest difference and the most important is spectators are losing money. They're in debt. And participants, the players on the field, are making the money. They're the ones at the biggest risk because they're making plays and they're being judged, but they make the money. And the people in the stands just pay money and go in debt.
And the people in the stands or on the sidelines have absolutely no control over what's happening. No matter how loudly they scream, no matter how loudly they fuss or complain or whatever, they don't have any control over what's happening. So if you want to have any semblance of having a little bit of control, and I don't mean control from a manipulation standpoint, I mean control in terms of helping someone see opportunities for moving forward that they might not otherwise see. You got to be a participant yourself in their lives and their future and in their problems. The things that make them feel like their life is on hold, you've got to make sure that you are involved. So I want to just ask a quick question, and I'm going to put up a slide for you to take a look at. But what is a threat? The title says that we're going to help you learn to get sellers and buyers off the sidelines by using threat elimination systems. And so my question for you is, what is a threat? Who can explain to me what a threat is in our market? Harry Catcher, can you explain what a threat is by chance?
Yes, a threat is not knowing how to unmute your computer.
It is a threat, not relevant to selling more real estate, but that is a threat. Technical, I don't know what we say. I don't want to say stupid. I don't want to say you're stupid.
Well, a threat is something that's going to upset the status quo, that's going to keep you from doing what you want to do, that's going to keep you sidelined, I guess. A fear.
Yep. And so, but when it's a threat, it's more than just a fear. And you're right, it is a fear, but it is more than that. It is a fear that is caused by a common understanding of problems in the market. So a threat, Catherine, is understood by most everyone. Even though one prospect versus another prospect can have different reasons for not moving forward. So let me ask a question. What is in today's world, and Michelle, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you because you've been such a great participant already. What is causing people to be stuck in today's market?
So in my market, and probably most, it's interest rates combined with high prices. It used to be in the past, you had one or the other, but not both. So I think that's the main thing I'm running into. And then with sellers, kind of the same thing. In most cases, they don't know where they're going to go to because they don't feel like they want to pay. They've got a nice, comfortable 2.5% mortgage right now, and they don't want to go invest that equity into a 7% or 6.5% mortgage.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Let's see here. I'm just going to share this with you. So I'm creating a little bit of a list here of the things that keep people on the sidelines in today's world. And I think everybody would agree: interest rates, higher prices, don't know where I would go if I could sell my existing home. Jill, what are other things that are causing people to be stuck?
I think it's just fear in general, right?
So can you say fear of what?
Everything and anything. They're fearful of the interest rates, of higher prices, of where they're going to live, like what happens next. It's the fear of the unknown.
Okay. Absolutely. Christy Green, what's causing people to be stuck that's not on the list?
I have the same problem with my mute button that Harry has.
So we're finding our biggest threat of not knowing how to unmute.
Well, you know how to do it. It just doesn't want to work properly.
You can do it no problem as long as everybody's not looking at you while you do it.
Exactly.
Right.
What else is causing people? It has been that they don't have what they want hasn't been out there. Now then that's exactly what I was going to say. Inventory is now increasing, but I still can't find what I want.
Okay. What else? Tammy Slay, you got anything?
So, unpopular opinion, but what's causing buyers and sellers to be stuck is their realtor.
Oh, dang. That's a slap in the face. Ooh. What's causing people not to be able to move forward is their realtor, because their realtor expects them to be able to figure out how to move forward on their own. And then once you decide how to move forward on your own, get pre-approved, maybe fill out half of the purchase agreement yourself, I can jump on in there and help you get across the finish line. And that is, for the most part, the flaw that is holding everyone back. So a threat, Michelle Curtin, is interest rates, because it is something that will cause people throughout your market area to say, I do not want to move forward. We agree? The threat, I can't find the home that works for me, Christy Green, causes people who could move forward with you to be stuck on the sidelines because you're staying. Now, I'm not saying you would do this, but you're staying out of the game and you're letting them make decisions without any advice as to how to move forward. So let's think about this for a second. Again, Michelle Curtin, and you don't need to give me anybody's specific name, but give me an example of how interest rates being higher are keeping one or more of your prospects from moving forward, meaning what's it doing to them and how is it affecting them?
Well, it's causing them to hesitate, especially because we've been hearing that they're going to go lower in September. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want to jump into it now. So when I'm able to have that conversation, I explain to them that if you went under contract today, by the time you were closing, that September decrease in rates would probably apply to your mortgage.
Yep.
especially if we put the closing date for the end of September.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what it has been. And I think maybe it's just a matter of educating people, because they don't necessarily follow the rate changes daily. They just hear on CNN or MSNBC that the sky is falling, and, they believe it.
And I can assure you that they don't even think it's possible for buyer demand to surge significantly after interest rates drop and to drive up the prices of the houses so much that it wouldn't have made any difference if they paid more interest or less interest, because over a 3 or 4 or 5 year period, they're going to be the same. And so you just, in my opinion, now you created a very clear explanation of what a threat is, and you've said it affects people by it gets them stuck. They get paralyzed. They don't know what to do. And I'm not saying that what you said is right or wrong. I believe it's right. But what you need to create is a system that solves their problem. So you have to show them very clearly, if you went ahead and sold now and you bought your next home, inventory is probably higher in your area. In fact, it might be a little more higher in your area in Florida than it is in other areas of the country. I don't know how the market is working there, but there are way more choices today than there were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 months ago. Is that the way it's happening in your market as well?
Well, and that's another thing that the news is telling people that is somewhat accurate, but not really. Yes, there's a ton more inventory, but we have like 3 months worth, whereas we used to have 3 weeks worth. So yes, there's much more inventory, but it's still very much a seller's market. But the buyers act like, I mean, when they do come and they make an offer on a listing, like we have one right now where, they come in the second week on market, they want $30,000 off the price, which is at market value. And they also have a home to sell contingency that they want to be lifted on the day of closing. And they don't consider that to be unreasonable whatsoever. So that's kind of, but on the other hand, that's our only offer, so far. So,
and who gets to decide whether or not what they're thinking is reasonable?
both the buyer and the seller. I mean, in this case, the seller doesn't need to sell.
That's right. That's okay. But only the buyer gets to determine whether or not their concern is reasonable. Right. Now, the seller gets to refuse to do what they're looking for, but now you've kind of helped me come to the next main point. So the first is you have to understand the threats that are out there in the market, the commonly understood threats. I've added a few more after their realtor. I've added the commission lawsuit settlement. That causes some people to have fear. April shared that. I've added, Michelle, as you were talking, my home value will decline. I'm going to buy it now and it's going to be worth less a little bit down the road, which is probably not true. And then you also brought up the buy with a contingency, which is a seller side problem and a buyer side problem. They're threats. I could buy a house if I could just get the freaking money from my house so I could buy that house and I'd be okay with it. Mm-hmm. Or a seller, I'd be willing to commit to sell to this particular buyer if I could have some way of being assured. And we're not going to address systems for all of these solutions. But if you, Michelle, are trying to help someone who says, I cannot move forward now because inventory is rising, and I'm afraid if I buy a home now, it'll be worth less 3 or 4 months from now, you will have a hard time solving that problem unless you have a system for solving the problem. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples of systems. And it's not about you trying to talk people into moving forward. It's not about you trying to convince people to move forward who really, truly don't need to move forward, because there are some people who need to stay on the sidelines for a little bit. Mm-hmm. There's some people we need to be a participant in their sideline activities, which are basically nothing. The first thing you must do, understand the commonly understood threat. The second thing we should all do is learn to meet the consumer where they are. So Joe Gorman, I don't know if you'd unmute for just a second, but you call me and you say, hey, Cleve, you ready to move forward selling a house and buying a house? And I say, not till these interest rates come down. If you're going to meet me where I am, how is that different than immediately trying to overcome the objection like we would have done for the last 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard you say something along these lines before, along the lines of, oh, that's a great point, Cleve. And that's exactly why you should consider blah, blah, blah. Sorry,
So,
not blah, blah,
so
blah, but
Jim,
you get where I'm going.
Jim, I'm going to give you some instructions. Don't smile when you're talking to somebody who has some problems. You nailed it. So it is me acknowledging that the way you're thinking makes sense in light of everything that's happening in the market. So Jill, you say to me, I don't want to sell my house because interest rates are too high and I can't get this worked out. And I say, oh, that's not really a problem. We work with 5 people and we've helped them with interest rates and blah, 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 blah. You are done listening to me. You're not going to pay any attention to anything else I say because I'm not meeting you where you are. Now, when the market is healthy, you don't have to meet everybody where they are. But when the market has high interest rates and higher inventory or things like that, you have to meet people where they are. So, Tammy, I call you, you say interest rates are too high. Here's what I'm going to say. Yeah, you're not the only one who's kind of being held back by that. And honestly, if I was in your shoes, I might even feel the exact same way. Can I ask you what problems not being able to move forward might be causing you? Tammy?
Oh, I didn't know you wanted me to
Yeah,
respond.
well, I'm role playing. Sorry, I should hold up a sign.
Okay. The problem is that my current mortgage is X amount at 3.5%.
Yep.
And when I look at even buying my next house, knowing that it's going to be at a higher price to stay in my same community,
Right.
at 6%, I'm now spending, $800 more a month.
Yes, and that is causing you to stay where you are. And tell me why that's a problem for you and how it makes you feel.
Well, because I really want a home with a backyard and a pool for my grandchildren. And so it's making me feel certainly stuck, and it's making me also feel like the years are going by very fast. And Rhett's about to be 5 years old and, start school. And if I wait, then I know he's going to then be 7 and 8 and getting older, and my other grandchildren are getting older, and I lose out on those memories. But at the same time, $800 a month is a lot of money.
It is. How does it make you feel to not be able to move forward with your plans for life? Like, what is the emotion that goes with it?
Heavy, like missed opportunities. I haven't even had the memories that I want to have, but I feel like I'm missing them. And I haven't had them yet.
So does that create anxiety for you? Does it make you happy? Does it make you sad? Does it feel like you're carrying this additional weight that you'd rather not to have? Feel like you're maybe burdened somewhat?
Yeah. And it also makes me feel like I'm working more to get to that $800 more a month. And that working more for that 800 to satisfy the pool in the future, right? Or the backyard in the future for that experience for my grandchildren. I'm now taking time away from my grandchildren right now. It's a conundrum, Cleve. It's a conundrum.
But here's the thing. Here's frustrated, helpless, powerless, losing hope. That's not fair because you wrote what the emotions are with the threat system. So it causes real freaking emotional distress in people's lives when they cannot move forward. And Tammy says, if I can't move forward in a reasonable time frame, I'm not going to build the kind of relationship I want with my grandchildren. Now that is freaking heavy. And if you can ever figure out how to understand clearly what the threat is, and in her case, the threats are interest rates, And if you can understand how that threat, how that problem is causing her to feel stuck, and maybe if you're lucky, understand a little bit about how she feels. How does that make her feel? And I mean emotionally. It makes me feel like a loser because I can't move forward.
I don't feel like a loser.
No. I was giving that as another example. I was giving that as not you, but there's a lot of people out there who, for example, want to have their kids in another school district, and they do feel like a loser as a parent because they realize that the experience for their children is not where they want it to be. And I don't want people to feel like losers, but there are people who have tons of anxiety. They feel absolutely helpless. They feel powerless. They have no hope in the future. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to have a nice place to live as my grandson graduates from college when it doesn't matter anymore. And that is not acceptable. And we don't use that against the consumer. We use that to encourage them to open their eyes and look at the opportunities that may be available to move forward. Does that make sense? Okay, let's jump into this. Let's talk about the threats that are being solved by these different systems. So what is the threat that Open Door, and just to be clear, I hate Open Door. I hate Open Door. I don't even like talking about Open Door, but they're solving a very specific threat that the market understands, and every bit of their marketing is that way. If for those of you who have Orchard in your market, they're using threat elimination systems to steal your clients from you because they're better at articulating the problem than you are. And that's sad. You real estate agents and team leaders and team members work your butts off to move things forward. And you've got Open Door and OfferPad and Orchard and a lot of the other companies marketing so cleverly to the people who feel some type of threat in the market that take the business from you. And then you have no inventory. So let's walk through what threat is Open Door trying to solve for. What threat are they solving a system to solve? Are they providing a system to solve? Catherine Ross, any ideas here?
There. I'm suffering from the same. And you got
it. It's contagious.
It's, get in your household without all of the hassle.
So they are alleviating brain damage from a process that many people consider to be slightly overwhelming. So Open Door makes transactions they make them faster. They establish more feeling of safety and comfort, and they make it easier. So Christy Green, if you sold a house to Open Door, your client sold a house to Open Door, they sold it on the market with you selling them, which way would they wind up with more money?
With me, of course.
100%. 100%. In fact, Open Door might have to hire you to sell the house after they buy it because they don't know how to sell it. So you can help them deal with the threats of having no idea about what's going to happen, having no idea when it's going to happen, and having somebody look in your underwear drawer because nobody's there to take care of them and they're at an open house and they slipped off in the closet by themselves. These are real worries that people have. Real worries that people have. And so the threat is, I don't want all the headaches. I don't want to make repairs. I don't want to have open houses. And think about the ads you hear from Open Door. If you don't want to have people traipsing through your house every week, if you don't want to have to make any repairs, if you don't want to have to worry about being in and out and scheduling showings and things like that, and if you don't want to have to worry about when in the heck is this thing going to happen, then sell your house to Open Door. We'll solve all those problems. Michelle Curtin, are you starting to see now how these threat elimination systems work? If you understand a commonly understood threat, and then you meet the consumer where they are, and then you offer a system that is the solution to that problem. So can I tell you something that I started doing when I realized Open Door was a significant threat in my market?
Sure.
Two things. Number one, when I would sit down at their house, the first thing I would pull out would be my little calendar. And I would open the calendar and put it in front of people. And I would say, Michelle, first thing we got to do is we got to choose our closing date. Do you think September is good? Do you think October would work better for you? When would you like your closing date to be?
So I'm role playing.
Yes,
Well,
please. Sorry.
September.
If I continue to stare at you, we're role playing. Sorry, I don't know very well.
September. I want to get out of here as soon as I can.
When, September?
hmm
September what? Like literally, let me turn my calendar around. You tell me which day you want it to be.
How about September 15th?
September 15th. Okay. Might not be able to do that. I'm not going to say that right this minute. But the reality is you all have been going on listing presentations and saying average days on the market are 14 days, average days to get it closed after that are 30, 35, 40 days. You've been helping people predict the day they're going to sell their house all along. But we don't do it in a way that is very impactful to the consumer. The next thing we do is we will go through the home and we will actually prepare, like most of you would, a very specific list of everything someone needs to do to get the home together, to get the home ready to sell. We will also get contractors to give estimates on all the things that we've said. And for somebody who does not have money to move forward, we will actually advance them the money to pay for the repairs and get the money back at closing. Now, I'm not saying everybody can do that, but there are companies that offer that service in most areas where they will do the repairs. They will get the home ready for sale and ready to sell, and the consumer just pays them back at closing.
Oh,
Now,
right. I've
I'm
used
not-
one of those before.
And unfortunately, some of the bigger ones, they charge a little bit more money, meaning it might cost an extra $3,000 or $4,000. But the reality is, if that's the only way they can get the house fixed up so they can move on, then that might make good sense. And so you can provide a system that has to be named. So our system is called the Sure Home Selling System. And here's what it comes with. Boom, 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 boom. Now, it doesn't mean everybody's going to like it. Doesn't even mean everybody's going to believe that we can do what I say we can do. But there's a few of them when they feel stuck because of the situation of their home and because of not feeling like they have any control over it, that we can help them see that we can help them have control over it. And I have a system that is already outlined that is designed to solve this problem. You can't solve someone's problems without a system for solving it. Coca-Cola, believe it or not, is a system. And that system is designed to make people feel what? Jill says thirsty. That's true. It starts with that. No, it makes them, you drink a Coke and you're going to have a smile. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been doing some thinking on this, Jill, and I don't think Coca-Cola has ever helped me with anything ever in my life. But when I see some of their commercials, I'm like, dang, I want to be that happy. I want to be that excited. I want to have a Coke and a smile. And so that's why you have to name something so that people start to associate you with a system that could solve their problem. So, Michelle, give me a name for your new process for making things faster, more convenient, and more certain when somebody wants to sell a home.
My easy peasy selling system.
Oh, write it down. And people say, well, I don't know, I got to have the perfect name. No, you don't have to have a perfect name. And if you don't know what to name your systems, just call it Michelle's Way. You can take advantage of the Michelle's Way program. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to put a diaper on you. I'm going to keep you all nice and clean and pat you on the head, and everything's going to be perfect, and you won't have any worries because I'll be taking all the worries. And then you just show them the system that teaches you how to do that. So the threat of no inventory, is that a real threat, Tammy? No inventory? I just don't think there's any inventory.
No.
But is it real to the consumer?
Absolutely.
So,
and it's real to the realtor.
Wait a minute. You're not saying realtors are causing the lack of inventory, are you?
No, I'm saying the fear of a lack of inventory is real to typically both parties, their realtor and their consumer.
So think about it. So a consumer says, I can't move forward. There's not enough houses for me to buy. Well, there's probably 50% more houses on the market today in Dallas than there was a year ago, right? 2 years ago. I don't know what the number is. It's a big, big difference. So if they think that the lack of inventory is the problem, it's not the problem. So what can we do to help someone find inventory either on the market or where someone is particularly motivated to sell, or maybe bring new inventory to the market? We're role playing.
Oh, us.
All right.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm a participant. I'm here. I'm
I'm really bad at that. So what can you do to help somebody who feels like, number one, lack of inventory is not really a problem because you have unique ways of doing things to help people find more inventory?
So the first is to educate them that I have a saying, if it has a roof, it's for sale. I know if it has a tree or a blade of grass, it's also for sale. But if somebody owns it, somebody will sell it. Doesn't mean that you're willing to pay the price that they want, but that's besides the point. If it has a roof, it's inventory. So there's either inventory in the MLS or inventory not yet in the MLS or inventory that will never be in the MLS. But the MLS is just one spot. So I tell our buyers that most other agents are trained. It's just natural behavior, no fault of theirs, but it's just natural behavior that they start their search in the active inventory in the MLS. And then they're also trained, they end the search in the active inventory in the MLS. And so if I have a buyer who's wanting to offset the interest rate or, save a little bit money, I'm going to start in the kick out. That's where I start. Okay. And if I'm going to the MLS, then I will also go into expireds. Then I will also go into areas of the community where they want to move into, and I start knocking doors and I send out letters and we'll call people. And we're very specific and we share the first names of our buyers. We're looking for, a buyer. This is their name. This is what they're looking for. And we find a lot of success with non-MLS inventory because it's just educating someone. The bulk of the inventory is not in the MLS. Like the bulk of the inventory is not there.
That's exactly right. So think about this for a second, Michelle. I don't want to move forward because there's not enough inventory. Okay, I totally get that, by the way, and I know that's got to be frustrating for you, and we talk about that just a little bit. And then I say, would you be open to hearing how we help alleviate that problem for our consumers?
Yes, sure.
So we use a program that we call the Wedge program. Now, I just made this up after Tammy was giving her examples.
I don't like Wedge.
Okay, well, we're going to call it Tammy's way, just so it's very simple.
I like that.
But no, can you let me use the wedge just so I can give you an example? It's not a great way to do it. Sorry, I didn't say wedgie. I said wedge. So what we do is we help you identify all the homes that are under contract, but during the inspection periods in the area where you're looking. And then we have a system. So if you are interested in the home and want to make an offer, maybe we can become a wedge between the seller and the current buyer and force them to move to you. Now that's powerful. You can also find inventory off market. You could do mailers. Michelle, you've got something to say. I could tell because you took 2 deep breaths.
Yeah. So just that whole going after homes that are pending. Mm-hmm. Do you make a written offer while they're in that inspection period or like right after? Like how do you make the buyer comfortable making an offer on a house that they haven't been able to see yet because it's under contract?
Well, let's just say that you were able to make arrangements for them to have a showing and you gave them the stuff and you called and said, hey, I know you're under contract. My client wants to see it. Can we come by and see it Wednesday afternoon? And so then the best way to drive a wedge, the offer from your client is the wedge. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to do much because when your client makes an offer, it gives the seller a heightened sense of confidence, and then they tend to make stupid decisions in terms of what they need to do for a buyer. So they'll be like, I got this backup. You can take this whole list of repairs and stick it. Now, I'm not
Come
saying
back
it's
with
the
the same
plan,
list.
but that was Tammy's example. And so we identified the threat, we connected with her emotionally, we offered her the opportunity to hear about our system that solves the problem. Now, Michelle, how many threat elimination systems do you currently have in place in your business?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really think of them in those terms.
Can we say 0?
No, I mean, I have been known to contact homes in the neighborhood, that they're looking in and stuff like that.
I'm not asking you what you do and what you don't do. I'm asking what you have a written system for doing.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
whether or not you do it doesn't mean anything to the consumer until you can show them the system that is designed to solve that problem. And so you're not alone, by the way. There was a time I had no threat elimination systems in my business. I didn't have any systems for helping solve problems. Now, I'm going to go into something here real quickly. I'm going to go into our Workbench, which is the system for those of you who aren't private coaching clients, a system we use to coach people. It's a platform we use. And I'm going to go and show you a threat elimination system. You don't have to worry about, Michelle, whether or not you're going to get these documents, because I'm going to give them all to you. But let's what's that?
I am a Workman client.
Good, perfect. So you already have them. So the threat elimination systems, this is the interest rate offset. And so the way these threat systems work is, first of all, you have a story. Christy, have you ever tried to help your agents understand that they should think a certain way, but you've not been effective in getting them to change the way they think? And it's because they haven't experienced the benefit of making a particular change. So all of these threat elimination systems come up with that have a story, that begin with a story of self-discovery. So it's a story about another agent who is receiving the same objections, having a similar problem to you, and it is the system that's created by that agent to solve that problem. And in so many cases, we try to teach shift systems, but we don't ever make everybody read the story together. And when we do that, we are making it where there is almost no chance of anybody moving forward with it, because we have to, through experiences, get people to change their beliefs, and the stories are what get people to change their beliefs. If we look here, you have a one sheet, which is a little fact sheet, but now we have a calculator. And so, Michelle, if you don't mind, I want to come back to you. And if you're having a conversation with somebody saying, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but we have created and are using a system called interest rate offset. And all you and I need to do is schedule a quick Zoom. We can walk through some numbers, and it works very simply. We take the interest rate you would prefer to pay or thought you were going to pay, and we would compare the cost to what it would cost you if you bought it today. And once you and I know that difference, we're going to know the additional interest you'd pay over 7 years. And my goal is to help you save that money either off of the purchase price or through seller concessions. Mm-hmm. Would that at least be worth looking at?
Sure.
So I want you to think about this. The solution we're offering is to help them understand how much they would need to pay, how much less they would need to pay, or how much more seller concessions they would need in order to offset the additional interest paid over 7 years. I don't know that that'll help people move forward, but I'll guarantee you it can't hurt. So all of you are going to have the opportunity to get the interest rate offset shift module. You're going to also have the opportunity to get the seller confidence system. There are already sellers out there who are understanding, man, there is way more houses way north and northeast Atlanta. They have 5 or 6 or 7 months of inventory in some neighborhoods. Now, when you have sales that take on average 3.5 months, but up to 7 months, you do not have sellers who believe they have any particular control over the market. And so the seller confidence system says, hey, I don't want to move forward because all of my neighbors who have their homes listed, they're not getting any showings and not able to have any sales. And then, oh man, I understand that, Jill. That must be frustrating. we created a program called the Seller Confidence System, where we supercharge all of the marketing to make sure we cover all of the bases. Generally, we're doing more marketing and are probably 60 or 70 or 80 or sometimes twice as effective as the average agent who's listing a home in the market. Would you be willing to invest a few minutes and let me show you how that works? Okay. So who has questions on the whole concept of threat elimination, meeting people where they are? Or are we pretty good there? Everybody's good. Give me thumbs up if it kind of makes some sense to you. Okay, so it's good. Catherine, she gave me a thumbs up too, I think. So I love it. 2 thumbs up. I'll take that. So now we need to talk about a concept, and this is the document that is not, this is the shift module that is not normally shared when we have anybody who's not a Workman coaching client on. And it's called Emotional Transformation Communication. So we already explored the beginning of it, and it says Tammy's dealing with somebody, or Tammy in her particular case feels stuck. She is sad because she's not able to provide the experiences for her grandkids. And I know Tammy well enough to know that that is legitimately a concern for her that she thinks about every day. And then my solution for you, helping you do that, is a system called interest rate offset, or maybe the seller confidence system, so you can see possibilities. Doesn't mean that any of the solutions I'm going to offer you are even solutions that you could use. Meaning it could be there's just extenuating circumstances, and it might be 6 months or it might be a year or whatever. And Tammy can go from being sad because she feels stuck to being very simply happy or empowered or content. She can change her emotions by possibly by using the system that we have. Tammy, anything else you want to add to that explanation there?
Well, I mean, so when I think about the example I shared, and a lot of that is true because I do got my grandkids and I do want, that house for them and to be a little bit further out than where I'm at right now. And when I look at the interest rate offset program, right? So my concern in my scenario is $800, but it wouldn't be $400. And so an agent having a conversation with me or me having a conversation with me, it's like, well, how would you feel if it was $400 difference?
Or how would you feel if appreciation over a 4 or 5 year period could more than offset the additional payments?
Right.
Not that you would go, okay, great. It could be, I don't have the 800. It doesn't matter what happens. We got to try to solve that problem. But what matters is that we get it out on the table. Now, one of the resources that I'm going to share with you all, and this is something that even Workman current clients do not have, and it is called, let me just switch this over here. It's the cadence and purpose of follow-up calls. So for those of you who want to actually scan the QR code and go get it, you can do that now. You're going to get the explanation of how to create a threat elimination system. So Michelle, if you're like, oh, this really sounds cool, but I'm not sure I understand the process, it will tell you step by step, start to finish, how to create one of these on your own. We're going to give you the interest rate offset systems, including all the tools that go with it, the seller confidence system, including all of the tools. We're going to give you the emotional transformation, and this is something that we typically do not give out to anyone who's not a Workman client. So if you're not a Workman client, you would definitely want to go get it. And this ABCs, the prospecting, follow-up, cadence, and purpose, this is available only here. Now, the difference in, Jill, the cadence and purpose of follow-up is that it teaches you to have different conversations with B prospects than C prospects. Now, you know this because your team leaders are clients of mine. And it says when you have someone who is 90 days out or less, Michelle, you use specific follow-up. So you identify one specific property and one specific feature and offer to show it to them. It's very simple. Anybody who's less than 90 days, you can do that on the seller side or the buy side. On the seller side, you're identifying one specific property that is listed currently, that went pending, that went closed, and identifying one specific feature just to educate them on the market. And it gives you the exact scripts that you use to make those B follow-up calls. And then for C's, it will give you what's called market general follow-up, which is the step-by-step process for making follow-up phone calls. Again, if you want to get that, there's the QR code right there. I would assume that April will post a link as well in the chat, so you can go get those if you want them. So I'm going to finish today's session just a little early because I've got another session right after this one that I can't be late for. And these are the assignments, and I suggest you take a picture of these so that you can keep them right by your desk so that you can move forward. Number one, the shift modules that we shared 2 of them. Learn them within the first week. Number 2, you and all of your agents need to be encouraged to meet people where they are, specifically if they are, especially if they're stuck. Then we've got to offer systems that could potentially solve their problems. We have to commit ourselves and our team to never leaving one appointment without setting the next appointment, ever. You need, because if I leave your showings today, I have got to schedule the showings for next week today, because if not, you move from an A prospect to a B prospect, and I don't want to do that. I want to move from B's to A's, not A's to B's. You need to set a goal for the number of A clients for you and everybody on your team. If you don't have enough A clients, you need to go fishing in your B and C prospect pond using the cadence and purpose of follow-up. And so on Jill's team, everybody who is prospecting C buyers should say the same exact thing when they're making their phone calls. And my guess is for some of you, you're thinking, oh gosh, we're definitely not doing that. Like, you need to give them the content to use and the graphics to share. And then you need to make sure that every single person on your team makes a commitment to meet with a minimum of 2 buyer or seller prospects every single week. There's again the QR code if you want to go download the free resources and items. I want to close by giving you some information. Now, some of you might have access to all of the shift modules, and so you're not going to need anybody. If you'd like to get one more additional shift module, first, you got to go download all the stuff from today's session. And it could be that it's a shift module that has not even been published yet. It could be that nobody else will get it for another 30 days. You send an email to Cleve at workmansuccess.com. And that's CLEVE, short for Cleveland. Cleve at workmansuccess.com, and say, hey, send me that newest shift module. And provided April can verify that you went and downloaded everything, I'll email it to you myself. And Harry, I'm not asking for your permission to do that. I'm going to do it even if you're going to get in trouble when I do. All right. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for attending today. I hope you got at least a few nuggets that you can take from this session that you can apply in your business right away. The next year in real estate, with all of the new commission rules and things, is not going to be easy. We're going to be learning stuff. There's going to be a lot of stress, and we need to take these threat elimination systems and apply them in our business to decrease the amount of brain damage that our agents get trying to convert a flipping prospect. Because if you said to me, all I need you to do is call 100 people so you can sell one house, I would say, I quit today. I quit today. But that's what they have to do in order to be successful. So we can't make it harder during times when people don't know how to move forward. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of you. If you need me, you've got my email address. Reach out to me, and we'll catch you in the next couple of months when I do one of these again. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.